power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
Every government needs a really good opposition. That's what keeps them on the straight and narrow. That's what keeps them implementing bad laws and bad policies.
I think we should get a little bucket with the word coward on.
And I put 10p in.
And then every time we throw the name of that coward into the bucket, and we'll see it fill up over time.
What can the Jews do to reduce the amount of hate they get? Anyway, that's easy. Fail.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah.
Be a failure.
Yeah.
They'll stop hating you when you fail. Is this really a problem?
Yeah. Well, not for us, I don't think.
Yeah, so reducing cows farting by 27%, is that really our problem? Is that really killing the earth?
Happy Christmas, Nick.
Happy Christmas.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 65 of The Mayor and I.
Yep.
And it's a pre-Christmas episode. We've got a special one coming out on Christmas Eve.
Yep.
Nick's kindly invited me around because I've got nowhere to go on Christmas Eve. And I'm hoping I can stay overnight and maybe celebrate Christmas Day with you, Nick, if that's possible.
Can I just say that your voice seems a bit better now?
Yeah, well, I don't know if our gentle viewers were aware, but Nick, for some bizarre reason, had my microphone the wrong... And now he's turning the lights off to... had my microphone the wrong way around for nearly 5 decades, I think it was.
Something
Nick.
like that.
He was afraid of my deep, manly baritone dominating the conversation.
My name is Lindsay. I've got a girl's name.
So it's the right way around now, Nick. And I'm just now wondering what next little scheme he's got to minimise my impact during this thing. So so episode 64, we've got the Christmas Eve episode coming up, which is just a review.
So this is 65. Sorry, 66 was the next on Christmas
65,
Eve.
yes. Nick Buckley, MBE.
Thank you very much.
To episode 65. We've kind of we've done the jokes. I just want to. I think we should get into a serious topic first, which is farting in cows. And I wanted to talk about this a couple of weeks ago, but other events overtook us. So,
but before we get to that, do you know why in the West all our cows have bells?
I've got an awful feeling there's a dreadful Christmas joke.
It's because the horns don't work.
Okay, thanks for that. Thanks. I hope somebody's noted that down to use at a Christmas party. So they're now introducing a substance called Bovea. And I think is it Arla Foods who are involved in this?
I think
to put to feed to cows because it reduces their, I don't like the word farting, it reduces their trumping by 27%. And Bovea contains silicon dioxide and propylene glycol amongst other things. It suppresses enzymes in the cow's digestive system which reduce the amount of methane, a gas a cow produces. It's kind of, has the world really gone mad, Nick? I mean, this is just...
Is this really a problem?
Yeah. Not for us, I don't think.
Yeah, so reducing cows farting by 27%, is that really our problem? Is that really killing the earth? These are animals that, obviously, they're not the same animals that would have been in the wild because they've been bred over centuries. But they're still living animals. Other animals produce methane gas. I think, so it's one of those non-problems that a multinational said, you know what, there's government grants for this of billions. We're going to take some government grants, we'll research this, and we don't care what our cows produce as long as we can sell it and make a profit. They've incentivized multinationals to do something that public don't want to do. We need to be getting back to eating healthier, not eating... I mean, this is all to do with the milk that those cows produce. We've got no idea the long-term effects of this. On us. On anything. We're playing God again and we're fiddling with stuff. You're old enough like me to remember the thalidomide in the 60s and 70s. I knew a woman who suffered from it. When I worked at the council, she typed with her toes. She was amazing. A keyboard was on the floor on the desk and she typed with it and typed faster than me and typed with her toes. again, we don't know what these do in the long term because we never research them long enough, and we don't always know. I mean, thalidomide was about pregnancy sickness. But
I thought it was a painkiller.
It's about
anti-nausea.
Morning sickness, pregnant women. But nobody carried on to see if it would affect the newborn babies, and it did. So I don't know why we're doing it, but there's been a big boycott of some of the products on this.
Well, I would say that's the only positive thing. So they introduced this like a positive, didn't they? Great news. Arla Foods were introducing a highly toxic chemical into cows. To stop them from trumping, which will benefit the environment. And I really think they thought people would say, wow, that's fantastic. In fact, it's gone the opposite way. And that has got to be a great sign, hasn't it, Nick?
I think they were working on this for 10 years. I think if they'd announced this 10 years ago, I think they'd have got the applause they thought they were going to get.
Yeah.
But times have changed.
Yes. Yeah.
And just like the Jaguar car advertisement,
yeah.
when this got initiated, they would have got applause.
Yeah.
But times moved on, and now we're going, hey, we don't believe in this climate nonsense, and you're telling me you're poisoning me.
Yeah.
For something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And no, it's all backfired.
It's fantastic, and I was really thrilled to see people boycotting it and my wife's checking when she goes in the supermarket. She doesn't want any of that shit, sort of thing. So I don't drink milk, I never have
some supermarkets are selling Lurpak butter, which is normally 3, 4, 6 quid, at 48 pence.
Oh, really?
Because they can't get rid of it.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's great news. That's great news. I think it's a real sign that's part of the reason I wanted to mention it. People are waking up, aren't they now? And people are reacting. That rather than just going along like sheep, they're actually saying, stop poisoning us, stop messing around. And again, in America, the RFK thing, I think, is feeding into that now.
Yeah.
People are starting to think about. Apparently, somebody was telling me about Lindt chocolates. Yeah. There's high levels of arsenic and various other metals in there because of the way they grow the chocolate. So I think this is now starting to get some traction, momentum, and people are starting to think about what they're putting into their bodies,
I'm not sure it's that. I think it's more along the lines of you're advertising to me that you've put chemicals in what I'm eating.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an issue with the climate.
Yeah.
Or even if there is, it does not affect me. This might affect me. It may not affect me, I don't know.
Yeah.
So why am I taking a chance?
Yes. Yeah.
You've told me you've changed it and poisoned it. Why am I taking a chance eating it?
Yeah.
I'll eat something else.
Yeah.
So part of it will just be, there's no need to take a chance on this.
Do you think, it's quite interesting, you just got me thinking then, do you think, therefore, if COVID came back again and they were trying to inject people with an untested vaccine, the reaction would be different this time?
It would. It'd be less than it was last time, but the majority of people would still take it. Yeah. It just wouldn't be 85% this time taking the vaccine. Yeah. I'd imagine it'd probably drop down to 50%.
I know quite a lot of people who had the vaccine who have had reactions and side effects to it. And I know a lot more who are unwell and can't explain why they're unwell as well. There was a guy, a businessman I know, I don't particularly like him, but I was asking after him the other day in relation to a business transaction. And they said, oh yeah, he's selling everything. I said, well, why is he selling? And he was a very fit vegetarian, actually. Yeah. Very fit guy. And I said, why is he selling? Oh, he's got heart problems. I said, well, he never had anything when I knew. No, oh, it's very recent. Yeah. Just got his heart problems, and he can barely breathe. He's all doing all this business, and he's got to sit selling everything. Yeah. So he's getting his money. So I think there's a lot of stuff happening out there because of the COVID vaccine that people don't realise is the COVID vaccine or related to the COVID vaccine. And
some of it won't be the COVID vaccine. Yeah. That he was due to get heart problems anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
But the fact we don't know makes people go, well, I'm not taking it, because everyone evaluates risks every day. Yeah. When you cross the road, you evaluate the risk. Yeah. You look at it and you go, I'm not crossing here, I'm going to cross at the Pelican crossing there. Or you go, oh, there's no cars coming, or I'll wait for that red one to go past, and we evaluate risk all the time, and we'll all evaluate risk differently. So when it comes to the vaccines, when it comes to this milk, people are evaluating risk based on their life and their experiences, and they're making the decisions they think are best for them. Why would you drink a new type of milk when there's nothing wrong with the old type of milk, and this new milk may lead to something. It may, but you don't. I'll just drink the old milk. There's no skin off my nose.
Correct. Exactly.
I'll drink the old milk.
Yeah. Friends of ours drink raw milk. Have you heard of that?
That's unpasteurised.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just straight from the teat.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
They gave us some to try.
Yeah, I don't think you can. It's hard to sell in this country. I think you have to buy it from source. I don't think you can buy it from shops and things.
Yeah, it's hard to. I think it's hard, and it's illegal in the States apparently.
Yeah, I think you only can buy it from the farm. If it goes through someone else, then that company then is responsible.
No, really?
Yes, I think you can only buy it from the farm and stuff.
Yeah, so what? Moving on from that, and it's talking about large institutions. So let's go. If we go across to America now. I saw something on YouTube the other day, really interesting, and it was a guy called Alex Karp, who's the CEO of Palantir. I don't know what Palantir do. I think they're a big tech company. Right. Maybe our viewers can tell us. And this is what he said after the American election. Yeah. And he was very excited on stage. People want to live in peace. They want to go home. They do not want to hear your woke pagan ideology. They want to know they're safe. Yeah, that's what he said. Now, the reason that is interesting is he voted Democrat. And after he voted Democrat and Kamala Harris, what's happening in America now, a lot of people are doing soul searching and trying to understand what's happened. So he voted Democrat, he was supporting Kamala Harris. Then after the Democrats lost, he came on stage and said that at a conference, which I thought was brilliant. Basically, he'd woken up between casting his vote and then understanding and analysing, and he was probably thinking these things as he was heading towards the voting box, but he actually is saying it now. So again, this is a large tech company, I think, Palantir. The tech community is starting to wake up now. I think Zuckerberg's just given $1 million to Trump's campaign. No. So it's starting to move now.
What we need to understand, in all our systems, we have 2 or 3 parties vying for leadership to win. We may be on a certain particular side. We want Trump to win, we want them to win. That's great. But we need to be careful that wanting them to win isn't the same as wanting all the others to be destroyed.
Yes.
Because what you're left with then is a dictatorship. You're left with just a one-party state. I don't want, let's say, reform to win the next election if it means there's no opposition to reform.
I agree.
Because power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Yeah. Every government needs a really good opposition. That's what keeps them on the straight and narrow. That's what keeps them implementing bad laws and bad policies. So even though I wanted Trump to win, and I didn't want the Democrats to win at all, but I want the Democrats to become a better party.
Correct.
To hold Trump to account. Otherwise, they're more likely to make mistakes.
Correct, because we don't know what Trump's going to do we?
Exactly.
We do. You and I like him at the moment. We like what he's saying. He could be an absolute monster in a year's time in our eyes. And I think it's a really interesting point, that, because we want an opposition. This is why I'm so pissed off with England, because we don't have an opposition. We have the same party, don't we? Which is a party that chooses to ignore the people's will time and time again. So that's why it's so important that the reform does well, because then we will have a true opposition. It'll be an opposition to Labour / Tory, the party, but it's an opposition. And I want the Democrats to be strong. But the good thing is that guy's doing what the Democrats need to do now, which is like, we've lost. Let's not just say we shouldn't have lost. Let's just say, why did we lose? What did we do? What was wrong with what we were doing? And he's summarising it very, very neatly, isn't he? He's summarising it. The Democrats lost touch with the people and what the people wanted. And that's happening in this country, isn't it?
I think we need to start treating political parties like buses. It's not your bus. You want to go on a journey. You want to go from here to a better tomorrow. And we need transport for that. So we need to jump on a bus that's a political party. And that might take us on that journey. The second it takes a wrong turn, you get off that bus and you look for the next bus. Or you might have to walk or get a taxi. And but we got to a stage where we think if we support a political party, it's like a football team, it's for life. It's not for life.
Well, look at Winston Churchill, our greatest politician. How many times did he change?
At least 3 times, I think I know of.
Exactly. Yeah. He wasn't bound by any convention relating to the party. He was bound by his principles, and if his principles were shifted from one party to another, he moved to the other party. And he brought a lot of people with him, obviously.
We need to treat political parties as buses. We need to use them as vehicles to get us somewhere. The political party isn't the destination. We know what the destination is. Use a political party to take us part of the way there. If you don't like what they're doing, get off that bus and get on the next bus to take you closer to where you're going.
America seems to be heading in the right direction in some ways at the moment. So I don't know if we discussed it last week, but certainly two of our kind of favourite, and I think you know both these guys, Andrew Doyle and Graham Linehan, are moving to America. So Andrew Doyle, for our gentle listeners, is a British comedian, writer. He's a very articulate, very funny guy, basically. He is behind the character Titiana McGrath. He's also written quite a few books.
Has his own show
on GB News.
On GB News every Sunday for the last 3 years.
I can't remember what it's called now.
Uncancelled or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Graham Linehan is a famous writer who wrote Father Ted, wrote The IT Crowd.
I don't know him, but
sorry, I thought you did.
Yeah, I know Andrew Doyle, don't know him.
Very successful until he wrote an episode about trannies.
Yeah.
And when trying to defend himself on that episode, which is just another hilarious episode, he basically became swamped and cancelled by the trans mob, and he's been fighting them like a Trojan for 5 years now, longer possibly.
He destroyed his marriage and everything, he says. So he's separated now, destroyed his marriage.
Destroyed his marriage, destroyed his career, didn't get any work. So, but they're both going to Arizona now, I think it's Arizona, where that kind of, their views are welcomed. There's what they regard as free speech. It's a tragic loss for this country, but it gives us an indication of the way.
Are they going for career opportunities?
Yes.
Right. It's a bit different if it's for career opportunities. If they're going because they're running away, then I'd use the word coward.
Yeah.
But if they're going there because there's career opportunities there for them, that's a different thing altogether.
Yeah. I think we should get a little bucket with the word coward on.
And I put 10p in. And
then every time we throw the name of that coward into the bucket, and we'll see it fill up over time. They're not cowards, I don't think.
No, not if they're going for career opportunities. If they said, I've had enough of this country now, it's finished, I'm leaving, then I'd be going, coward.
Yeah.
But they're not doing that.
America is not perfect, though, and I wanted your opinion on something that happened last week, which I really just don't get, but maybe you can explain it to me. So there was a CEO of a company called United Healthcare in America called Brian Thompson. He was, and this was actually quite graphic because it was filmed. It was filmed on a CCTV. Yeah. A character called Luigi Mangione, who, by the way, is a Native American from quite a wealthy family, apparently. Basically stepped out of the shadows as this guy was walking down the street and shot him with a silenced gun, basically killed him. I think he had to shoot him 3 or 4 times. Now, for some reason I don't get, the sympathy lies not with the man who was killed, Brian Thompson, but with this character, Luigi Mangione. What the hell's going on there?
I don't know much about this, but I can understand why that's happened. The people who are celebrating this billionaire's assassination, because that's what it was, an assassination, regardless if you agree with him or not, or what, I never heard of the man before he was assassinated. But these will be the people, these will be Antifa, these will be the people who hate capitalism, who think earning money is the worst thing in the world. So there's a certain amount of people in this country, but also in America, who are looking at the assassination going, bring on the revolution. This is the first step for the Marxist communist state. We're now killing the bourgeoisie. We're now killing the billionaires. Why does any man need billions of pounds? He should have given all that to charity. He deserves to die. He's part of the problem. For every billion he earns, 94 children starve to death every day. I'm glad he's dead. I'm glad he's been assassinated. They're the mental people over there. And this Luigi guy is now being lauded now as a hero and the resistance, just like when Lenin got all his comrades all assassinated so he could take power. It's the crazy world we live in, where being successful is seen as being the same as Hitler.
But what I can't get, or what I can't reconcile, and some of the points you made there, you actually came across as though you were making the argument for it, which was interesting. But the bit that I can't reconcile in my head is, how can anybody celebrate the death of somebody in that way and not say to themselves, hang on a minute, am I on the wrong side here? Do you know what I mean? It's kind of, hang on a minute, am I one of the baddies? Because I'm actually here celebrating the death of a man who was cruelly, coldly, in cold blood, assassinated. How can they possibly... Because once you cross that Rubicon, Nick, where do you go?
Several things there. The first thing is, if you say to people, if you could go back in time and kill Hitler as a baby, would you? And quite a few people go, yeah. But then you have to say, but he's a baby. He's done nothing wrong at that point. But that's the same argument with abortion. You're killing an innocent baby. So we can twist these things in our mind.
What you're saying is that Rubicon's already been crossed.
Absolutely.
Mentally in America and in other places. So, death. And actually, we're moving on to assisted dying, aren't we, here? So death in murder in certain circumstances is acceptable.
If for the convenience of women they can kill their unborn babies, then why can't we assassinate a tech billionaire who we think is damaging the world? So that Rubicon can be crossed there. But it's also what I said before about joining teams and tribes. There'll be lots of people who don't really mean it when they say it, but because their side is saying we're glad he's dead, they end up agreeing in saying it. But if you'd have asked them the day before, should he have been assassinated, they would have went, no, absolutely not. But now it's been done, and their side is saying, I'm glad it's done. They feel pressure of saying, and they convince themselves, I'm glad it's done now. And that is the ideology taking over. And we're all guilty. I mean, everyone's guilty. It isn't just a left problem. It's also it's a human problem.
Yeah.
That we will follow the crowd. Most people are sheep and will follow the crowd, follow the leaders, because they do not want to be isolated and ejected from the crowd, because there's danger if you're isolated and ejected from your tribe. You're on your own. In 1,000 years ago, it was a death sentence. So we will follow the people even though we don't believe in them.
And I suppose it's possibly a natural extension of really what's happening with Jewish people at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
With the murder of the Jews on October the 7th, their now continued persecution by such a large amount of population. I guess it's just, Greta Thunberg, what was she shouting out? Fuck Israel. I think she said. Or
and Germany as well.
And it's kind of I suppose it's an extension of that now, isn't it? That hostility, violent hostility to human beings has actually been celebrated far more in the past year in Western society than it has been for a long time, I think. Because you and I have been shocked by what we've seen in terms of the anti-Semitism.
But it's been going on for a long time.
It has been, but
punch a turf. Most trans activists are violent nutcases. A lot of the left are violent nutcases. Antifa are violent nutcases. I think most people in Antifa are basically psychopaths who become members of Antifa because it's a way of them validating their violent streak of wanting anarchy and punching and blowing up and shooting. They would be attracted to... They're the same people who'd be attracted to the SS. Attracted to joining the Gestapo. Attracted to the Crusades where we can go kill people. Attracted to any of these things that happen throughout history. There's always a certain percentage of people who are attracted to that because that's what they want to do.
Like football hooligans in the 70s.
Exactly.
That attracted a population that were not that interested in football, I think.
Yes.
So maybe it is, but it just seems that aggression, that hostility, that nonsensical hatred and wanting to hurt people seems to have accelerated a lot in this last year.
It does, because we keep othering everybody else. So it's very hard to feel sorry for a billionaire.
Yes.
So it's easy to celebrate his death. It's hard to imagine being a billionaire. You look at the Jews. The Jews are always portrayed as being rich and running the world, and they've got their own country, and all the countries around them are poor. How can we have a country in the Middle East that's a democracy that has no natural resources, but it's a first world country started from scratch 70 years ago, and every country around it is basically at best a second world country.
Yeah.
So it's easy to hate them because they're successful.
Yeah, it's interesting. On Sunday we brought the mole, didn't we, to the
you did.
My mole to the who basically supplies us with information.
And said to me, "You're the most famous person I've ever met." That was a disappointment for him.
He's had a very sheltered life. I was deliberately winding up and saying you wanted to talk to him and all that sort of stuff. So he was getting. But he used to be a hard left. I don't know if he had the chat with you about it. He told me, yeah. Very, very hard left and hated Jews.
Yeah, anti-Semitic, and he's also part Jewish himself.
He believes he's part Jewish. I'm not convinced. I think that's just some sort of little conceit. Yeah. But he, I was going to say surname then, but I'm not. He, on the way back in the car we were chatting, or on the way there I think we were chatting, and he was talking about Jews, and there's still vestiges of his belief in the fact that Jews are this cabal who control. And he was saying, how come Jews do this and that? Well, I mean, he's clearly not anti-Semitic anymore, but he's still got these unanswered questions in his left head.
And some of those questions will be valid.
Yeah. But then I said, well, perhaps the main reason is because they're highly intelligent. Yeah. Jews, I think the Ashkenazi Jews have got the highest IQs on the planet, apparently. So why wouldn't they be the highest percentage of Nobel Prize winners? Why wouldn't they be running the most successful hedge funds? Why wouldn't they be running the most successful investment funds or businesses? Because if you've got a great brain, that's what you do, isn't it? You know, but that, and I kind of said that to him, he was like, oh yeah, you know, sort of thing. It kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Do you know who Thomas Sowell is?
Yes, he's a black American writer.
University lecturer, philosopher, and he was talking about he was at some Jewish conference decades ago, and someone asked him about what can the Jews do to reduce the amount of hate they get. Anyway, that's easy. Fail.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah.
Be a failure. Yeah. They'll stop hating you when you fail.
Because what you have with Jewish people is not generally, of course there's lots of poor Jews and not successful Jews as well, but a lot of Jews are very, very successful because of their ability and skills or whatever it might be. And a lot of people resent success, don't like it, are jealous of success. But it's very hard, isn't it, to say that guy's successful because he's got a great brain and he's done really well and he's better than me basically or whatever. It's very hard to do that. However, if you can say he's successful because he's Jewish and they all stick together and they all do that, suddenly it's the reason why you're not successful, isn't it?
Yes.
You see what I mean?
There isn't any self-reflection there.
Correct, yeah.
So if you've been successful, I can guarantee you've worked all your life, long hours.
Correct.
Hard work, put everything you own at risk.
Yes.
Taken chances, done without, neglected your wife, neglected your children, neglected your family to a certain extent.
Not been that bad.
Yeah. You've not been there at every Christmas, every birth.
Yeah.
That's why you're successful, not because of anything else I can point to, but from the outside it's easy to go, well, Lynn's is successful, do you know what, he must have been lucky, he's had some hell. But no, he just did the things you weren't willing to do. He worked harder than you. He may have got some luck along the way, but he made that luck by being open to the chance in the first place. A friend of mine used to always call me the leopard. And he goes, you're a leopard, Nick. He goes, you just lie in wait and opportunities come your way. And then you grasp them. I went, to a certain extent, you're right. I take opportunities all the time. And most of the opportunities I take lead nowhere. But every now and again, one leads somewhere and everyone else goes, you were lucky getting that. Well, not really. I attended 100 meetings where nothing happened.
Yeah.
And then one meeting led to a great outcome.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have got that outcome if I didn't attend the other 100 useless opportunities.
Yeah.
So it's easy to judge other people because you don't want to judge yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what happens with the Jews.
It's like that golfing phrase, isn't there? Somebody said it to one of these famous golfers. He hit a fantastic shot that went in or whatever. They said, "God, you're so lucky." And he said, "It's funny, the harder I practice, the luckier I get."
Yeah.
I think that's the case, isn't it? And you're right, opportunities, that you're lying in wait for the opportunity, but also when it comes, you grasp it. That's the point, isn't it? Lots of people aren't prepared to grasp the opportunity.
Exactly. I mean, good example, we started this podcast.
Yeah.
Our first episode got 12 people watching it.
Yes.
By the end of 3 months, we had 60 people watching it. Who in their right mind would waste our valuable time carrying this on?
Yeah.
When we're not going to make money out of this ever.
Yeah.
But we carried it on and carried on. And now, 11 months down the line, we've now got nearly 30,000 people subscribed to this.
Yeah.
And some of our stuff now gets hundreds of thousands of views.
Yeah.
That's because luck, hard work, perseverance, knowing what we're aiming for, getting better over time, because when we first started this, we didn't know what we're doing. We just joked about the mics. I messed up, but now I understand the mics. It's that hard work progression, rather than going, that didn't work out, I'm going home. Well, you don't learn anything from that.
Well, interesting. It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because on Sunday at this party, and by the way, for our viewers, the party was it's a cancel culture meeting group basically that meets up. Quite a few people said to me, "I'm so frustrated and annoyed with what's happening out there, but I feel I can't do anything about it." I said, "Well, you can do something about it," and I described what we're doing and what you're doing. But I said, even just when you go to a dinner party, somebody says something stupid that you don't agree with, just say that's nonsense and explain why. Just do that, just do a little bit of work. And it's like everything, but you're right, what we've done here, there's a lot of hard work gone into this. All the hours we've spent doing this, it's not something that's just been knocked off, is it? 65
episodes now. Some of them were double episodes. We're looking at least 100 hours. 100 hours for a very busy man like you and a very busy man like me. That's 100 hours. That's a lot of work.
Correct.
Plus your travelling time, which probably takes you nearly an hour to get here and an hour to get back.
Correct, because I always have to drive here. He never comes to me, folks.
And then I'm spending at the moment now probably a day and a half
editing
everything. So, but that's the work we're putting in to get. So that doesn't happen overnight.
No, it doesn't. And that I think is a Jewish thing for me. So as I say, we were chatting, and I said, have you thought about the fact it might be because these guys are bright and they work hard, and that's, I think for a lot of the Jewish people, that's what it is. Talking about working hard, there's a young lady who worked very hard recently. She's called Lily Phillips. Have you heard of her?
She worked hard, yes, she did.
And this is a strange kind of story, really. Is she on OnlyFans as well? Which is something I don't know. I know you use it regularly, Nick. But
I'm a gold member.
Yeah. But apparently it's a site where you...
It's a prostitution site.
Well, maybe it's a prostitution. If I can give
you pay women, you pay to watch women live and videos of them in sex acts and stuff like that. It's a prostitution site. Let's say it the way it is.
Yes, you select a woman. If you like somebody, you become a fan and you pay money to access it. And then she might post a video about, how to make crumpets or, scones or whatever you might call it. Or
they use crumpets, but it's not the way you think they use crumpets.
Well, in my innocent mind,
you wouldn't want to tweet them after they've done with them.
So anyway, this young girl called Lily Phillips.
23 she is.
She's a nice-looking young girl.
English, middle class.
She slept with 100 men in a day, basically,
and filmed
it, and now this is available, apparently, or so you told me. This is available to people who can pay on the OnlyFans site. So there's two things here. One is why, and apparently since then she's also now saying she's now going to go for the world record. I didn't know the world records in these things, of 1,000 men in a 24-hour period, which apparently time-wise is quite quick. More than enough time for me. But
you'd be all right. It's quick.
But for most men, I think it wouldn't be enough.
You can send your donation in the post. You're that quick.
But when I saw it, I was actually reflecting back on something we discussed the week before, which was your article and tweet about young women in Manchester dressing, as you said, like prostitutes. And I just think, are these things linked? Why is she
absolutely connected? Absolutely connected. This young woman, beautiful young woman, is extremely damaged and broken. Her finance manager on this is her mum.
Jesus.
Her mum is a finance manager. Doesn't mention her dad. I guarantee she has no dad. single parent household, and her dad's not in her life. Guarantee it. It's a classic example of this. How she ended up doing this? She's doing this for the money. She joined OnlyFans, which is a legitimate way of being a prostitute. And most of our industries, most of our newspapers and the BBC all promote to a certain extent OnlyFans as if it's been a strong, powerful, independent woman. You go, girl.
Is it presented that way, is it?
You're reclaiming your sexuality. You're using men, actually. You're using the weakness of men to make millions. Last month, there was an 18-year-old girl. She spent a year on OnlyFans. She's earned £50 million. She's now retired.
You're joking.
Yeah. Started on the day of her birthday, and it's been less than a year. She's retired on £50 million.
Wow.
So most women on there...
What does she do?
I don't know. But most women on OnlyFans are earning £20 a week.
Right.
Just like anything. Only the stars make money. This is, as we discussed last time, this is the perversion of feminism, which is you can do whatever man does. Men are not emotionally connected to sex. Men, when I was growing up, there was a saying about men, which was women need a reason to have sex. Men just need a place. Because women are more emotionally connected with sex because they take more risks. They're going to get pregnant. They've got to raise their children. They only have one child a year. We can impregnate 1 million women in a year. Well, I could, you couldn't. So feminism has told her she can do whatever she wants. And then other people are applauding her for taking control of her life. At the end of that 24 hours, they're making a documentary about her. And they interviewed her after it. She was in tears. You could see she was like, she was broken, even more broken than she already was.
Yeah.
And she doesn't understand why she's crying.
She couldn't understand why.
And she kept saying, I should have been better. A lot of the men, I didn't get everything they should have got out of it because there was too many of them. I wanted them to feel better. And she's crying. Her tears were real. What she was saying was what she thought she had to say. It was a bit like a couple of years ago, there was a woman coming out of Primark who'd just been in the changing rooms, and there was a man in there with a beard getting changed, and she came out crying in a car, and she was like, I'm all for being inclusive, and there was a trans woman in the changing room and he had a beard and I was scared, and I don't want to be transphobic, and he should be there because he's a woman, I believe he's a woman, but I was scared and I don't know why and she was having a breakdown because her mind was saying to her, you're in danger here.
Yeah, her primal instincts.
Then her wokeness was saying, you're a bigot, he should be there, and and that's what this girl's doing. This Lily is using men to a certain extent to make money, become famous, and what she doesn't realise is a bit like the Midas touch. What she thinks she wants is killing her. Turning everything to gold is not a way of life because you can't eat, you can't hug your family. Yeah. King Midas had to get that spell reversed because it was killing him. And what she's doing, she thinks turning it all to gold, it's killing her.
That's a great analogy, that, Nick. Yeah, I think that's right. I think that crying and trying to justify it, and that's happening a lot these days. People's primal instincts, core instincts, which are good instincts to follow, they're ignoring them.
Hundreds of thousands of years of being developed.
Yeah. They're ignoring those instincts for some crap that somebody's told them over the past 10 years. And that liberation thing, you're a liberated woman because you're having sex. It doesn't work that way, does it?
No.
It's just not the same for a woman having sex with a man as it is for a man having sex with a woman.
Let's talk about the young men who turned up to sleep with her, because they've had some criticism as well. And to a certain extent, rightly so. So she only picked 18-year-olds. Because she called it the barely legal challenge. So do 18. She picks 18-year-olds. Why did she pick 18-year-olds? Part of the reason would be they'll be quick. When I was 18, sleeping with a woman, I've done. Thank you. That's how quick you are when you're 18. I'm sure
our listeners didn't want to know that, but thank you for sharing.
John, you only get honesty on this channel. Yeah. Only get honesty.
Yeah.
So they were picked because they were quick. They're also picked because they're not fully developed men yet, with that trait of protecting women. Because a real man in that line would be going, she's damaged, she's broken. My job is to protect everybody in my tribe and my community. I'm not going to allow this to go on. This isn't right. And that's why there's no mature men in the lineup. They're all basically adolescents. Those young men may live to regret this, as in it was abuse, but it was self-inflicted abuse by her. These young men have also been brought up in a feminist society where they've been told women have choices. It's women's consent. If she said yeah, then it's not rape. It's not abuse. Women, you can do whatever you want to a woman if she wants it because she's just like you. So they've been indoctrinated to reject that feeling inside about protecting women. Hence why women are more danger now, because men won't protect women, because women have told men for decades now, we don't need you to protect us, you sexist, misogynist pig. Don't open a door for me. Don't protect me. I don't need you. In fact, I'm as strong as you physically. Have you seen all the woke rubbish to write about? So this Lily is a victim of feminism, pure and simple. She's a victim of herself believing in feminism.
I think I'm going to blow your theory apart now.
Go on.
Nick. Because there's another very famous case recently which we've not talked about. I want to talk about, but I think the events overtook us or whatever. Yeah. And it's in France. And there's a woman in France.
With a husband.
With a husband who discovered after something like, it was after like 10 years or something. Yeah. Every night he would drug her with a very, very powerful drug.
Yeah.
And then as she lay comatose on the bed, he would invite men in. Yeah. To have sex with her unconscious
and film
body
it.
And film it.
Because she found the films.
I don't know actually how she discovered what happened.
I don't know, but can you imagine watching that for the first time?
Yeah, well, it's I can't. Yeah, no, it must have been.
No,
I mean, it's a horrific story, but you made a very interesting point before, which sounded plausible, but then I'm questioning now whether it is, because the men who had sex with her were not particularly strange men, different men. They were neighbours, there were people in the local village, there were people he knew nearby, there were people he worked with. So he made them aware, and my wife has mentioned this. She said, why did none of those men say when they came in, because a lot of them said, oh, I thought she was in on it, or she was blah, 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 whatever. She clearly wasn't. My instinct in that situation, if I came into a situation like that or walked in, I'd go, whoa, hang on, this isn't right, I'm calling the police. So that is what I believe. I'd love to believe that's what I would do.
I'm sure it's true.
But these men, and they were not unusual. They weren't like flown in from Afghanistan, or I'm maligning Afghanistan now, but what I mean is they were local, normal, working men. A lot of them knew her or knew. So what happened there?
I think that's completely different to what we just discussed with Lily and those young lads. Those men were specifically chosen. He didn't invite lots of people and he decided. This went on for decades. He spent time in conversation with different people at work, in the village, whatever, and he would have tested people.
Yes.
He would have inferred things, and they would have said, yeah, well, I've done threesomes, and it would have been a slow process before he trusted them to invite him in to the horrendous abuse of his wife.
Yeah.
Every one of those men is guilty of an horrendous crime.
Yeah, yeah.
I could understand if his wife was drunk and they had sex with her, because she was semi-conscious, she was laughing and joking, we all got carried away. But he drugged her until she was comatose.
Yeah.
She was a sack of meat, and they abused her. Again, some men are dangerous pigs. Violent, dangerous pigs, and it's probably a trait in more men than we think it is.
Well, that's the point I was making, because these were a lot of local men.
But the reason why we don't see it is because social norms and standards keeps them in check.
Yeah.
But once you get a pervert who starts seeking out other perverts and tells that pervert it's okay to be a pervert because I'm a pervert, you start having that group mentality.
Yeah.
Same with the grooming gangs in the Pakistani community. Any one of those men never would have raped or abused a white girl on his own. It was only because there was a group of them, it became socially acceptable, and they validated each other. And this is a different version of our version of the Pakistani grooming gang. That's what that was, basically.
It's a good point.
Yeah. I would be looking, I mean, it's things like that I'd be looking at death penalty. Death penalty for all, I mean, if they'd all been drunk and it happened once and he said, well, I thought she was up for it because, she's changed her mind now. But they've got documented evidence of video, she's being drugged, then they were... I'd be looking at death penalty. It's for us to protect our women. And when men cross the line, there has to be a penalty. Because if we don't penalise those men to an nth degree, the message that sends to other men is, it's worth a chance here, because all that will happen to me is I might be prosecuted. A man going, what might happen to me is I'm going to be hung by the neck until dead. That won't stop all men, but believe me, it has an impact on some men.
As you know, I'm not a supporter of the death penalty, but...
oh, you are? You just don't know you are.
Yeah. I mean, I think the society that would interest you would be the one in Dubai. It's very similar to that. There's very little crime, very little stuff like that goes on, because they are very, very severe in terms of their punishment. Yeah,
and it's more than just severity of the punishment. It's because when you use the death penalty, you take out defective genes from the gene pool. And over hundreds of years, that has a big impact.
Yeah.
They reckon that was one of the reasons why we became a more peaceful nation, was because of duelling and because of our version of honour killings hundreds of years ago, where the people who'd want to duel would be the most violent people in society, and someone always died in it. And we were eliminating the violent genes all the time.
Yeah.
And that's what a death penalty did. The people who were more criminally inclined but violently inclined, we were taking some of them out of the gene pool all the time, so we're weakening their genes.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? And then you look at the Second World War, and that wiped out probably most of our young...
The bravest people in our country.
Is the society we're living in now, where, I mean, you talk about over-feminized men, is that a direct result of that?
There's a chapter in my book about this,
right, okay.
And that's exactly my conclusion, is over the two world wars, we lost 1.25 million men in this country.
Yeah.
And they would have been the bravest men of this country, because the brave people go to the front, the cowards stay behind, towards the end of the group. So the braver you are, the more likely to kill. And because we had two world wars so close to each other, there wasn't enough time to replenish all those genes in society. So we went bang, 8,500,000 of World War One and 350,000 World War Two. Bang, bang, 2 generations. And then we end up with a load of weak, pussy men in society, breeding more weak men. And it's not necessarily the genes, it's also the traits you teach your children as well. So the brave men all went, they didn't have an opportunity to teach their children to be a man. And I think I've had
about interesting.
There's definitely a connection to those two world wars.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, a very brave man we know is James Bond, of course.
James
Bond.
Oh yeah.
He's
shaken or stirred. That's my James.
There's your Christmas impersonation.
Shaken not stirred. It's a crap. I don't do accents.
That is the worst impersonation I've possibly heard. So, but now if you can send your requests in, viewers, we can have a different impersonation.
Bond, James Miss Funny.
So big news is MI5 or MI6. They're now doing internships for the secret security services, but apparently those internships are for only ethnic minorities,
not white people,
non-white people. So
why? Because white people don't commit crime and are not traitors. So this is a racist policy, because it's saying that only black and brown and foreign people are criminals and enemies and traitors. So I find it a very racist policy. White people can be traitors too.
It's to me, once again, it's to meet DEI stupid quotas. The thing I found, the reason I thought this was interesting is we see this DEI crap in other professions as well. You know, we need more black, especially in the acting. I forgot to tell you that a friend of ours, her daughter was a dancer and actress, And my wife asked if she was going to go to London to pursue a career, and she said no, she can't go to London because she can't get an agent. She said unless you're black now, you can't get an agent in London.
Yeah.
Because the only people agents want in London now are black people, basically. Yeah. So this young girl who's very talented, top of her class in Manchester, couldn't go to London to work.
Yeah. So agents' books are full of white people who don't get any work. So they're not taking on any more white people.
Yeah, exactly.
Books of them.
Yeah. Because every freaking advert says we need a black
ethnic minority.
Person. Yeah. Wasn't we? I think we were discussing that on Sunday.
We did.
Somebody about a particular situation you came across where somebody said, "I like your idea, but unless you've got a black person fronting it up, we're not interested."
Well, that was the guy we were talking to, and he was talking about the guy who presents the podcast Heretics.
Andrew Gold.
He worked for the BBC.
Yes.
And he designed this program. They liked it, and they said, we'll take this, but you can't present it. We're going to have to get a black person to present this.
It's just unbelievable, isn't it?
He talks about it on his show.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. But the thing I find...
And then he said, well, I'm Jewish, thinking...
That'll help.
And they went, Jews don't count anymore.
yeah. We definitely don't want Jews.
Jews don't count anymore now.
Is that what they said?
Basically, yeah.
Paraphrasing.
Yeah, I'm paraphrasing, yeah.
Yeah. You can't play the Jew card anymore, can you?
That would have worked 30 years ago.
Yes.
You're a Jew, you can do it then.
What the bit that the reason I find this particularly distasteful, apart from the fact it's, again, just overt racism, this is against a background that 49,000 of the people on the MI5 watch list, or 75% are Islamist extremists, brown people, basically, mainly. So what we're doing now in our security services is deliberately employing people who potentially have a higher chance of being hostile to this country and to our culture and to our people than native white people.
That's a chance you take, but if you want to infiltrate radical Islam in this country, you need some brown and black people.
So you think this is the rationale, do you, for this?
No, I think this is the fact they announce it, and the fact is wrote on the advertisement tells me this is a DII thing. But there is a rationale behind it. But I don't see why the MI6 is going out advertising for these things. They should be headhunting.
Correct. Well,
people.
they used to, didn't they?
Exactly. They should be headhunted. That's why I know this is a DEI piece of rubbish. Yeah. Because of course we need brown people and black people and people who have got Muslim heritage because we're trying to fit into this. And you don't want me to go, hello, how are you today? Yes. Oh, yes. I pray to Allah. They're going to believe. So we need some of that, but this is virtue signalling DEI because otherwise, why are they going on about it?
Yeah, but if you want, but your point is right. If they want brown people, Indian people, Asian people, you go into the universities, don't you? You look and you find people who've got the views that put the
headhunting.
And they used to do that for all the main spies, didn't they?
Yeah,
they used to go
and did all that,
yeah. They'd find people who were politically aware, who had views that chimed with this country, and then they'd say, listen, do you want to come for an interview?
And not only
you can do that with Muslims, though, can't you?
Yeah, but not only that, you before you even approach them, you check them out for 6 months. You know, you do all the background work, because these people applying now. They're applying out the blue. You don't know who they are.
Correct.
And if they're going to apply, they may have spent a year putting their track record in order, so it looks like you want them, but really they've been a planner. Well, if you approach people blindly, they don't know you're going to approach them. You could check them all out first. That's what we need to be doing.
I was quite interested by the statistic of the 45,000 on the check list. There's 45,000 Muslims on the check list in the UK, the watch list, sorry. But there's only 3.9 million Muslims in the UK. So that means that 1 in 100 are suspected Islamists. Yeah. You're good at maths, aren't you? Are my numbers right?
Oh, you have to read them again.
There's 45,000 suspected Islamic terrorists in the UK, but there's only 3.9 million.
So 4,400,000, 45. Yeah, 1%.
1 in 100 is good at the maths, isn't he, ladies and gentlemen? So that means 1 in 100 of the Muslims. Because I was thinking, 1 in 100 Muslims are suspected terrorists in this country. That means if you've got a crowd of Muslims in front of you and you chuck a ball, you're going to hit one, aren't you?
Very good chance. But don't forget, it's 1 in 100 in this country who are illegal immigrants.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, but I don't think you can draw the parallel between the two.
There's a connection,
yeah,
but not everyone is there. But can you see how it's connected to immigration as well?
But if I said there's a free Muslim dinner on next week in Sale, and you know you're going to get free halal meat or whatever it is they eat, I don't know what they eat, and then like 1,000 people turned up, I could actually just stand on the stage, chuck a handful of balls into the crowd and say, anybody I've just hit with the ball, are you a jihadist? And they probably was somebody, a few of them would put their hands up, wouldn't they?
I'm not sure they'd put their hands up, but I get your point. And this goes back to what we said before about moderate Muslims. If the percentage in the Muslim community in this country is 1% radical, not even radical, potential terrorists, 1% of the Muslim community are potential terrorists, that's not a small number.
No, it's not. That's what I mean.
That's not a small number.
It's not hard to gather 100 Muslims together in Manchester, is it? And chuck a ball into the middle of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that. But if you brought together a bunch of white people, native white people in this country, and put them into a room for a barbecue or whatever it is that they would be attracted to, sausage rolls.
Yeah.
If I chuck a ball in, I'm not going to hit a terrorist, am I?
No.
I mean that to me is quite 1 in 100 is quite a stark number for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was quite.
Hence why we need the moderate Muslims to do better in their community, because this number is not a good number.
Yeah.
And you need to sort this crap out.
Yeah.
We can't sort it out because you all look the same to us.
Yeah.
You're all Muslim. We can't tell anything. But you can, as moderate Muslims, you know who the ones who are talking about the radical stuff. You know the ones who are preaching stuff. You need to get together and you need to sort these people out.
But if we go back to the MI5 internship, if you get 100 brown people together in a room for the interview, which they probably will do, if you chuck a ball in there, you're going to hit a terrorist as well, aren't you?
Not necessarily. Odds don't work like that. So
I think my chucking a ball into a crowd of 100 people is a really good illustrative example of what a crazy situation this is.
These people aren't taking corners. They're not throwing balls into groups of people trying to hit someone. But your point's made. It's a high... 1%'s a high number of suspected terrorists, not suspected radicals, not suspected people who might think Sharia law is a good thing, but suspected terrorists at 1% of the community. Shocking.
I want to move on to more DEI shit, as I've titled it. As I've titled it here. And our mole sent me something yesterday, and it's an advert for the National Library of Scotland.
No.
And it's for Renaissance Scotland, 1480 to 1630, which I think is a period you specialise in. He sent me a picture, and he said, a little narrative, he said, I often think of androgynous-looking black females with facial piercings, braids and Egyptian-style eyeliner when I think of Renaissance-era Scotland.
Yeah, I see the picture.
Because the picture of Renaissance to celebrate Renaissance is exactly that.
A black African woman.
A black African woman with dreadlocks.
And piercings.
Wearing eyeliner, standing proudly in a kilt or whatever it is. What? Please tell me there were no black African women looking like that in Renaissance era Scotland.
No, there wasn't.
So what? I mean, this is National Library of Scotland. This is not some crappy woke tranny in a street corner with a picture in a window. This is the National Library of Scotland. This is
all about the decolonisation of all these institutions, which means less white people, more black people. So this is about being inclusive and being welcoming and being kind and being compassionate. So we'll pretend black women were in Scotland over many hundred years. And they weren't. And we all know it's crap. And we're going to have years and years and years of this to come. Because institutions like the Library of Scotland and some other things will be the last institutions that change. They will hold on to the death.
I think you're right. I think that we're seeing the change coming in the general population. We're seeing the change coming in corporations.
It will start in corporations first.
Yeah.
Because they're a lot quicker to see the shift in the public.
Yeah.
And all they care about is money.
Yeah.
So they've changed their opinions, we'll change our opinions because we just want to spend.
Yeah.
Those other organisations like the Arts Council and all these things will be the last ones because they don't rely on commercial money. They rely on grants. As long as the government's giving them grants, they're fine.
Well, it's interesting you're talking about grants because I did a bit of research on that as well. So did you know there are £6 billion of grants per year from the government to universities for basically, I've called it here just crap. And the department's called UK Research and Innovation. This is what it's called. So they hand out, this department, 6 billion quid to universities. But let me give you an example of how they're handing it out. They gave this year £1.7 million, and I don't know which university it is, so I apologise, for a study into literary decolonisation of Africa between the 1940s and the 1960s. So what that is 1.7 million pounds being sent on researching how we, the nasty British, the white people, I'm calling myself white even though I'm only half white, we basically took literature, books and everything, their own work, literature away from the Africans between the 1940s and the 1960s. 1.7 million quid for that.
Yep.
That's nice.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is how a decent government can change the universities, because they hold $6 billion a year for the universities. They can say to universities, you don't get any of this money if you do this. You don't have free speech on your campus, you don't get these grants. You don't get this, you don't get those grants. Now, some of that $6 billion will be spent really well, such as when the Manchester University invented or discovered graphene. That would have been funded by these sort of grants. So we need government funding R&D, research and development, but for the life of me, I don't know how that piece of work is going to improve my life or your life.
Well, perhaps this one will improve your life.
Oh, I hope so.
£250,000, £240,000, cultural entrepreneurship in vegan meat markets.
You can't. Is that true?
That's true. I'm not messing about.
You got me last time. I know
this is not the tax on Werther's Originals. This is true. £240,000 cultural entrepreneurship in vegan meat markets.
See, all this stuff is just woke far left bollocks. That's £250,000.
Yeah.
And there'll be thousands of those examples.
Yeah.
There's a woman at the moment who's got an account online, and she researches all this. I forgot the name of the account now. It's something like Woke Watch. I don't think.
Yeah, I think I've seen. Yeah, where it's how your money's been, money's been spent.
And she's only talking about taxpayers' money, and she's showing us where our money's going to and all the research, and we're funding a lesbian opera group in Beijing.
Oh yes, that was one of these on here. That was
What's that got to do with us?
Do you not like a bit of lesbian opera?
No, I can't see it in Beijing, can I?
Otherwise you go.
Another one where they funded a foreigner who's not even living in the country. I think he's somewhere like, he's Spanish or something. He now lives in Norway, and they gave him £250,000 to research the history of gay porn online.
Jesus. This is the British government.
British government, university grant. He's not British, and he doesn't even live in Britain. And he got £250,000. And all this money, again, when I take over, all stops day one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to. I think because we talked about this last week. There's millions of people in this country doing things that don't add any value to anybody anywhere. And we were talking with the mole about this, and his sister, we're going to be careful here, but she's worked for years for organisations, firstly that were funded by the EU, and that dried up because we talked about, now funded by the British government, where they do stuff that doesn't make anything or do anything, or it's like assistance, teaching unemployed Turkish people how to juggle. It's things like that. But there's thousands, millions of jobs like this.
Yes, there is.
they're just not adding any value to our community, not creating or making anything.
Yeah.
You know, that's the bit that really gets me furious about it.
And it's wasting our taxes that could be spent somewhere more productive, such as we could use some of this money to improve our road network.
Yeah.
And you think, but why? Well, that then improves businesses' connections.
Yeah.
How about we spend some of this money on redesigning and improving the railway from Liverpool, Manchester, Leeds, Hull, Newcastle, and suddenly we've got this fantastic network that connects the north. That will attract business, but we don't do that.
Why not spend $6 billion on putting 2 additional lanes on the M62 between Manchester and Leeds?
Exactly.
That would transform that travel between those two places. But no.
Yeah, which then improves business, who then expand, who then employ more people, who then pay more tax. So spending government money and taxes on certain things makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the graphene at University of Manchester, R&D, taxes paid for that. Well, that I don't know what it does at the moment, but everyone says graphene is going to revolutionise the world. But I can understand why they were doing that.
That's maybe an old example. I'm not sure that's in place. But at the time it was hailed as fantastic.
Exactly. Yeah. And some of the things won't work out, but at least we can understand why they're doing it. You can never convince me that the history of online homosexual porn is going to improve this country.
I'd probably agree with you there. I was watching the chap from the Lotus Eaters. What's his name? I think you know him with the beard.
Carl Benjamin. Nice guy.
In fact, they were talking about him on Sunday quite a lot. But he does a separate podcast called Saron of Akkad. Yeah.
That's a Mesopotamian, a Syrian king.
Yeah. And I sent it to you because he was getting very angry in this. It was one of those where people dial in. So every now and then he was going, hi, doing all that business. But fundamentally, what he was saying was really interesting. He was saying, look, I'm just sick of this. He said, I'm not leaving. I'm staying here. I'm fighting for my kids. My kids are British. I'm British. I'm staying here. I'm fighting.
That's how it should be.
He said, but I am sick of it. He said, I worked so hard to do this. He started from nothing, didn't he? He's built his channel.
Invested all his money in Lotus Eaters.
Yeah. And he's got a really good channel now, and hopefully he's making a good living.
Got cancelled off all social media about 5 years ago. He got cancelled off everything.
Is he back on Twitter?
Back on everything now.
Yeah,
I think.
But he was saying, I'm working hard. He was showing all the books he's working. He's like you. He's got all his research information.
Employs about 20 people.
Yeah, employs 20 people. So he's creating value and creating something and adding value. But he said, I had to go out the other day. I had to get a sandwich quickly. I didn't have time. I ran out, and I said, I walked past a cafe, and he said there was a group of Somalians sitting there having a coffee, and he said, I haven't got time to stop for a coffee, but I'm paying for that.
Yeah.
And it's right, isn't it? So something like 67% of Somalians are unemployed or something crazy, those numbers. And the frustration, the sense of frustration, but I get it. And I get frustrated and annoyed to know that my tax money is spent on shit like this. It's like I work hard, to do what to earn money for me and my family. I work hard, I pay the tax. Then the tax that I have to pay out my salary goes to fund this shit, to the Somalians having a coffee in the corner.
You'd accept the amount, you pay too much tax, we all do, but you'd accept that amount of tax you pay if you could see the benefits to your fellow citizens in this country. Yeah. You'd be like, if we had an amazing NHS, you'll go, God, I pay too much tax, but do you know what? I'm glad people who are not as rich as me get access to that amazing NHS. But you're looking around going, I'm paying the most tax I've paid in my life. Nothing works. Yeah. And it seems to be going to foreigners who I don't even want in the country in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good summary, isn't it? Yeah. That's a really good summary. And that's the essence of where we are at the moment. That's why people are getting angry. Because everybody's working hard. The native people in this country are working bloody hard. For what? For no NHS, for crap NHS, an NHS populated again by immigrants. The roads are a mess, education's a mess, and we're giving most of that money to foreigners as well. It is a scandal. I could understand why he was getting annoyed. He was really getting himself worked up into a bit of a frenzy, and I kind of got it.
I think we all get there every now and again.
Yeah.
He was having a bad day, and all of a sudden it's like, am I an idiot?
Yeah. Yeah.
And is my government treating me like an idiot?
Yeah.
I'm rushing out to get a sandwich because I've got no time today. I've got to keep the lights on there. I've got 20 staff. I'm paying pensions for them. I'm doing all that. Their lives are in my hands.
Yeah.
And their mortgages are in my hands. And I'm making sure they're fine. I've got to run out. And we've got illegal immigrants having nice coffees in shops where I can never have the time to sit there. And I'm paying all my taxes for that, and they're offering nothing to my country. And let's be honest, a lot of them are criminals and rapists, and why are they here? Whoever asked me, did I want this in my country? Because I don't remember voting I wanted that. That's what he's thinking inside, and rightly so.
Yeah. No, he's right to be angry, and I think more people need to be saying that and thinking that and articulating that as well. The more that start to do that, the more that we'll start to shift things in the right direction.
Yeah. And he's based in Swindon, and the little town centre in Swindon is awful. Half the shops are shut. You know, some of the shops are Polish shops, these shops, those shops, and I used to go to Lotus Eaters. I've been a dozen times.
Oh, right, you've been down there. Yeah.
So when you're walking through Swindon town centre, it's awful.
Yeah.
It's a dying town.
Yeah.
But yet we've got money to give foreigners, where Swindon town's dying.
Yeah, yeah. And my mole was saying that as well. He lives around the kind of Warrington area, and he was saying... St Helens area, and he was saying that he imagined, he thought his local town was a bit of a shithole. He thought when he went to St Helens town centre it'd be fantastic because he knew it got loads of money over the years from the EU. He said it was just another. He said he didn't know where all the money had gone. Yeah, that they're supposed to send, which is gone on schemes like this we're talking about, isn't it? I was interested because we were celebrating once again, I think, another LGBT day the other day, and I was quite interested, so I went on ChatGPT. This is a DEI shit. I went on ChatGPT, so I'm going to go on here because I'll actually save the actual detail of it. And sorry, bear with me. And let me get your name. And I looked up the number of days a year that we're now celebrating LGBT stuff.
Oh, dozens.
Yeah.
There's days you've never even heard of.
Well, guess how many days we're actually celebrating now per year in this country?
24. 2 dozen. Guess.
201 days. So that's 55% of the year we are celebrating bullshit sexual things. And these are things like, I'm not making this up, LGBT History Month, Aromantic Spectrum Awareness Week. They get a week. International, and this is a bit that made me laugh, International Transgender Day of Visibility, because they don't get much visibility, do they? Only 201 days a year. Lesbian Visibility Week, International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia and Transphobia, Harvey Milk Day, Agenda Pride Day, LGBTQIA plus Pride Month. Do you even know what this is, Nick? Aromantic Visibility Day. The aromantics need to have a visibility day, don't they?
I think avomantic is you're only attracted to people you've attracted to, or it might mean you're attracted to no one. I don't know. It's all bollocks, isn't it?
International Pronouns Day, LGBT Centre Awareness Day, Gender Fluid Awareness Week.
Yeah,
that's important that they have their week.
Well, because they don't know who they are, so they need a week to figure out who they are, and then they can say, "Well, I'm not that."
And you've just missed you missed a day. You'll kill yourself. On December the 8th, it was Pansexual Panromantic Pride Day.
Invented by Mr. Tefel.
So there's total events of 43, and they occupy 201 days of the year. Yeah. Now, I actually thought, okay, let's assume that's okay. So what are we doing for these kids that have been sexually assaulted by the grooming gangs over decades?
Nothing.
Are we doing something for those guys? No. So I actually typed in ChatGPT, what is there for the victims of the grooming gangs? As at December 24, there are no nationally recognised days in the UK specifically dedicated to remembering victims of grooming gangs. However, there are 2 events. There's a day on March the 18th, which is Child Sexual Exploitation Awareness Day.
No.
And there's a week in November, National Safeguarding Week. No. So, so the LGBTQI transsexual panromantics get 201 days a year, 55% of the bloody year, Nick. Yeah. The children who are sexually exploited, raped, get 8 days.
8 days.
8 days, and I bet it's not bloody advertised anyway, is it?
No.
I mean, doesn't that sum up the grotesqueness of this era and the society we live in at the moment?
It does, but it's been going this way. I mean, by the time you've read that list out, someone's invented a new day. So there'll be another day now where, another adding on to the LGBTQ. But it's all, as we know, it's all falling down now.
Yeah.
On that Christmas party we went to on Sunday, I was talking to...
you were wearing your pan-romantic outfit, I seem to remember.
I was. Yeah. I was talking to 2 guys, 2 gay guys, didn't know each other, so they weren't a couple. And I had a conversation with them, and both of them says, I'm not a part of the LGBTQ. And I find it insulting when people say, whoa, don't be including me in that.
Yeah.
I'm gay, but I'm not part of that.
Yeah.
And so I had a good conversation with them too. Yeah. And they didn't even know each other, but both of them had the same stance.
Yeah, so you were hanging out with the gay guys, as usual.
Just quite homophobic.
Homophobic. I just said you're hanging out with. How is that homophobic?
It's homophobic.
It means you celebrate gay community and gay life.
Tone in your voice.
Was there a tone? What's it? Yeah. Did you feel uncomfortable?
No, I didn't feel uncomfortable. I'm thinking about the listeners, and now I know why I always had your mic turned at the back, because I don't want them to hear this homophobia.
You turned it round to avoid the homophobia that spews constantly from this side of the room. I thought we could finish with some TV reviews. We have a regular TV review section, and I watched 3 programmes last week which you may or may not have seen. One was called High Life with Robert Pattinson. Have you heard that? It's a space adventure. No. One was called The Madness, which had a picture of a black man.
I've seen the first episode.
It's a film, I think.
It's a series.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Episode. I watched the first episode.
Yeah.
My wife didn't like it, so I've not watched it anymore since. But I will. Yeah. I thought it was okay. I'm going to carry on watching that.
And the third was Electric Dreams, which is a science fiction series. Right. So High Life with Robert Pattinson was pretty boring. Yep. So as I always do when I'm watching them, it's pretty boring. I'm then looking at the actors, or they're looking at go on Wikipedia, don't you? Look at the actors and what they do and things like that. So I quite like Robert Pattinson. I think he's a good actor. But then what was really intrigued me was, so it said, I looked at his kind of background, and he went to a school, then he went to drama school and all that, and then I looked at his wife, and his wife was a singer and dancer, and then I looked at his sisters, and I think he's got 2 sisters, and they're both actresses, stroke models, and I looked through it and I thought, there's nobody who actually bloody does anything here. They're all fantasists. I mean, he's a good actor, but it's just like, they're not actually, and we go back to this theme about people not doing stuff anymore. And what struck me was how unproductive his entire family appeared to be. I mean, I know he's a good actor and he just generated revenue for the UK and stuff like that. But I think the rest of his family, they're kind of just, I'm an actor stroke model or whatever, And I thought, not only are they not really producing anything, but when they get together, what do they talk? All they talk about is the same shit, isn't it? About transgender visibility and panromantics and all that sort of stuff. And isn't Trump terrible? And thank God for Kamala. And they're all living in this incredibly eclectic, esoteric bubble where all they see is a fantasy world that they inhabit, and that's all they talk about.
Worse than that, I don't mind them talking about that, because I don't care. It's the fact of the nepotism. Once you get one famous person in Hollywood or acting, all your family members have got an open... Doesn't mean they're all successful, but they've got an open door to go through going, that's my brother, that's my dad, that's what and you see the nepotism through all the time.
And you see these kids of these sort of grotty, ugly kids of these famous actors who've probably been neglected through most of their childhood. Cause
Bono's daughter, you watched in school. Yes. You said she was crap.
Bono's daughter, and you see, she's an actress, and you think, oh my, what a massive coincidence. You know, her father was an actor or a singer or whatever, and she's obviously got the same genetics because she's gone on to do exactly the same thing. It must be, you know, it's a dynasty, isn't it, of that talent? You know, and of course she's just crap. Then I watched The Madness, the one you were just... So, there was a film a while ago about a black guy, and I said, oh, what's this? It's actually quite... Do you remember what that was called?
Ridge something.
Blue Ridge or Ridge something, yeah. And I started watching, I thought, here we go, racist, white, blah, 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 whatever. And it wasn't. It was fantastic.
Good film.
So I thought, I know. I'm learning now. I'm overcoming my racism, my homophobe. I'm going to watch this, even though I'm, you know, scared that maybe it might. But I think given Blue Ridge or Ridge Mountain or whatever it was called was so I started watching it, and it's a black guy, and of course he's a high achieving black television presenter, TV presenter, living in a fantastic house, and he goes away for a fantastic holiday in somewhere like this. Anyway, he goes to this fantastic, and of course, you know, I'm sure it happens all the time in America. Most of these cottages around lakes are populated with black people, aren't they? Black families, wealthy black lawyers and doctors and stuff like that. So he went next door, and there's a guy he said hello to in the morning. He comes to borrow something off him later, and the guy's dead, chopped into pieces, basically. Anyway, so he then the guys who did it see him, and he goes on the run basically, and anyway, eventually the police rescue him, and he goes to the police station, and then a guy comes in and goes, that guy you saw, he's so and so, leader of the white supremacist group, such and such.
Yes, he did,
and that's the point where I went, because they're still doing it, Nick. They're still doing the same bullshit, aren't they? You know, wealthy black guy is chased through the woods by an extreme white supremacist group, and the guy was going, the black guy goes, before I turned off, he said, these are the worst people in our society. And then I went, and I didn't watch anymore. I refused to watch anymore.
Well, I got beyond that. I got to the end of the first episode, and I probably would watch another one. I know, once you said it, was like, I remember going, really? Does that have to be about white supremacy? But so they look like they're trying to. He's being framed up for killing a white supremacist. It's annoying.
And then Electric Dreams, and this is from about a few years ago. It's 4 or 5 years old. It had Anna something. She used to be in the vampire things.
No.
And she was a hot, sexy cop, and she went home. And she sat down and she was thinking about something or whatever. And then a woman comes in, and I thought, oh, that must be her flatmate. So the flatmate comes in. Next minute, they're snogging and making love, because of course...
The lesbians.
Yeah. So I thought, God, it was actually quite a good story, so I did actually watch it again. But I thought, will they just stop for a second? Give us a bloody break, will you? They have to do it. You can't... I'm mainly watching now Korean programs. No, I'm serious. I'm watching
just so you can see white people.
Yeah, just like the yellow people, you know, just so I can watch something where they're not wheeling in a black person or a lesbian or a tranny every 10 minutes, you know, because Koreans, for some bizarre reason, don't have to follow DEI rules, so they don't have to make 50% of the cast black and 50% women, 50% lesbians and 50% trannies, and it's just so it's either it rests or dies on the story, whereas anything you watch from America now, within a few minutes you get it, don't you? So
it does, but it's slowly changing.
Yes,
it is slowly changing.
Yes, and I think you're right, and I think there was an interesting article this week about the latest movies to come out of Hollywood they've actually started to give instructions. We don't want the woke crap in this anymore. Yeah. So a lot of the movies coming out now don't have any reference to because I think it was Snow White and something else, and one of the Buzz Lightyear films had two female characters kissing. And that's all all started because those films just bomb basically.
They're spending hundreds of millions on it.
Yeah.
And making no money back.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's a business.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this episode. It's like this podcast. We spend hundreds of millions, the high tech, the microphones, just to generate that value, basically.
Yeah, good.
So on that bombshell, Nick Buckley, MBE, happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas.